As we continue our discussion on money and culture, let's look at the issue of corruption. I think we all agree that corruption is a huge blight on any society. But cultures have different views on what is corruption. A Western definition of corruption would say to use one's position or influence in a public role for personal gain. Now, this not only means that appropriating public funds for personal needs is corrupt, but favoring one's relatives, for example, in a hiring situation is also corrupt. But another perspective on corruption would say that if an organization or a wealthy person has funds and does not use it for a good cause, that's considered corrupt. The American anthropologist Lawrence Rosen defines it in this way. Corruption is the failure to share any largesse or liberal amount of money that you have received with those with whom you have formed ties of dependence. And no consideration is given to where the funds may have come from or what was the intent of the funds. Some societies would even say that corruption, such as bribery or favoritism, simply levels out the playing field. And as Rosen says, it actually contributes to the sense of equal opportunity. I was on a flight from Afghanistan to Europe, and I was sitting beside a businessman who was from Afghanistan but living in Europe and running a marble business in Afghanistan. And he told me how he felt that bribery helps to pump money into the economy. Now, what about stealing? Most individualist cultures would say that stealing is to take something that belongs to someone else and then use it for personal benefit. Now, many communal cultures see resources as communal, belonging to the community. And here Lederletner will say, and then let me just quote from her, and if that resource is not being used by the current owner, it is allowed to be borrowed and used by others at any time. Now that's something to chew on and discuss with your colleagues in your office. And what about the purpose of gifts? Many individualist cultures would say that a gift should not have any strings attached. While those from communal cultures, they would say that a gift is a way to establish and nurture relationships. So much to be aware of and to learn, isn't there? So back to corruption. Despite the different perspectives on corruption, to use public funds for personal benefit is sadly a universal malpractice, and it's universally condemned. Ironically, even by those who practice it. Two simple ways to overcome corruption is, number one, through equitable salaries. Just pay people better. And number two, working towards stronger professionalism, where people take pride in the work they do and strive for excellence. Another issue is do diligence or just do it. As I was working on this lesson, I received an email asking for advice about finances from a new organization that I'm consulting with. A leader in the ministry is registered in the West, wanted to transfer $500 to his own family who are in Asia and in real need. And he asked if he could do it through the ministry's Relief of Need program. And then we would just take that amount from his salary. Clearly it's laudable and generous. And maybe, is it legal? Maybe we could try to make it work. But is this good accounting practice? Which perspective should come into play here? Now, some ministries are very scrupulous on keeping to the letter of the law. Maybe I should say some administrators of ministries. And they want to make sure that they are not accused of mishandling funds. And so they can become even more legalistic than the law. Others see the law as a guideline that we should not cross, but that the laws can be interpreted or flexed differently depending on the situation. Now, the astute finance officer or the manager will need to learn how to interpret and work with laws if they wish to serve successfully in a multicultural environment. Now, I should mention, I use the term finance officer or finance manager rather loosely to mean a person who oversees financial structures and procedures. Now, in your context, the title given to this position may be different. Please interpret it according to your setting. A very current and rather scrupulous issue is transferring funds from the West to countries like Iraq or Pakistan or other places where there is violence. And you want to transfer funds to help with personal needs over there, such as visa fees, passport costs. The issue is compliance with rules for charities. This means that the money must not be seen to be money laundering or filling an official's personal pockets. Money laundering means to use legal sources to transfer money for illegal or criminal activities. So on the one hand, we need to do due diligence in all financial transactions to ensure how the money is being spent and to be able to trace it properly versus just sending it. But at the same time, I often ask myself, is there not a place to just help people who are so desperately needy? And so while we talk about financial scandals, I also find it somewhat scandalous that laws can be used to keep us from helping the needy. Now, let's just take a moment and do this activity to look at corruption and due diligence.